Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Dark Shadows Reviews on Gemmy Master Animatronics, and today what I have to review and show off for you is the prototype life-size collapsible Hunchback. Now, yes, this is the same one that Peter C.M. Hanna had owned, which then he sold to another collector, which then was sold to me. So this thing's been passed around more than the popular chick at your high school, but it's now at my house, and I don't plan on selling it. We'll make a really, really nice piece in the collection room. It is going to go where my other prototype Hunchback is, and the other prototype Hunchback, which is more of just a late sample, but there are some minor differences with the looks and the way it's structurally built. So that one's going to go in storage temporarily until I find a better spot for it. And I also picked up a produced Hunchback, full produced one, and there's a full story behind that. So there will be a video of this prototype Hunchback, the sample Hunchback, and then the produced Hunchback, all three separate videos, and then a comparison video. And I know I say things like that a lot, but I promise you guys this time it will happen. So, without further ado, here is the collapsing prototype Hunchback, and this is something that all of you guys have seen before, whether it's this version, Donovan's version, or Johnny's version. I don't know if Johnny still owns his, he might not, but last I heard he did. So there aren't many um, there aren't many of these out there, but there's enough to say that it's not the hardest prototype to get your hands on. We haven't seen another one pop up, but all three of us have one. And this one, we believe, is the one that was used in the stock photo. It did come from the castle. Obviously, you've heard the whole story on it before from Peter. When I got it, unfortunately, it was pretty wrecked. The finger was broken off, the pointer finger under the tray, which was broken off when Peter owned it. It was missing at the castle. So who knows when it went missing? It could have went missing back in 2008, 2009 when it was prototyped. It could have went missing way down the road years later when it was at the castle. Someone could have broke it off when they were looking at it. You don't know when it came off, but basically since it's been in collectors' hands, it's never had that finger. The head turning had no gears in it. There was no gears. They all stripped out because there was an issue with the board. It had a circuitry issue where it didn't work anymore. It would strip out all the gears. So the way that this works, and I will actually open up the base and show you guys what it looks like in there because it's really cool. Um, there's basically a cauldron witch board in there, which is what powers the whole thing, with an EEPROM and two H bridges with smaller boards, which those smaller boards are connected to speed dials, and those speed dials control obviously the speed of the movement. There's two movements on him: the neck tilting and the head side to side. Um, the produced one does not have speed dials. The prototype does. It could have very well been because they were trying to see what speed they liked his movement at, and the speed dial was much easier than making a whole bunch of different ones, programming them differently. The speed dial just you open it up, you change the speed, you see how you like it, and then you go, okay, this is how we're gonna sell it. So that's my theory on it. I could be totally wrong, or I could be right. Who knows? But the speed dial wasn't working for the head turn. So when the previous owner turned it, it just went, AWOL, and the head was going so fast. I have a video of it going super fast, and I mean it was bad. It stripped out every single gear in the neck mech, and he ended up losing the gears, so I didn't even know what gears were in there. So that was fun. I had to find gears that would fit it, and I did. It started working, but I mean the head was just so fast. I had to open up the base. I found the H bridge, the mini board there, and I replaced every component on that board, put a new speed dial on it, and it's working great now. I just picked up the tray for it because originally I was just supposed to repair it, but then I decided that I wanted him, so I bought him from the other collector. He sold it to me at a decent price. It really wasn't anything too crazy. It was definitely a lot less than what he had paid for it, and I'm very thankful that I was able to get it because, there's a lot of prototypes out there. They're all at one, they're all with one person pretty much, and no one's really able to get anything. So for me to say I have a genuine resin collapsing prototype is awesome. I would love to get more, but if I don't get more and I don't find any more, I'm content with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna show you up close everything that either I fixed or I have I fixed or that I still have to fix. So coming up close, you can see that he has his resin head that you guys have all seen before. This was chipped off. This is not a perfect paint job. I am going to go redo that, but for right now, temporarily, I just threw a thin coat of paint on it right there. That was the only real major chip on his head. I'm going to take his hood off, and I'm going to show you how the head works, like the way it looks behind the resin cast and how it connects, because it's completely different than the produced one entirely. And to collapse this guy, it's not a typical collapse mech. It is and isn't. So it's designed pretty much almost the same way. However, you don't press on the shoulders when he's collapsed. You press the push button on the back to bring him up, and then you press the push button to bring him down. And the locking pins, I guess you can call them, aren't on the sides like a typical life-size character. They're actually on the back, and they hold him in place from the back. And when you press that button, it releases them. So it's a cool, unique design. I don't know if the other collapsing protos are like that, but this one is. This is his tray. Here's the proto tag that you've seen 100 times over, but it's still cool to see. The only thing that's left with him for me that I have to do is I have to re-dye his fabric, and that's not going to happen until probably summertime. Because for right now the weather's still a little iffy, and I would have to do it outside. So I'm waiting for a really nice day outside for me to be able to do that. And then it's on the typical, 5-foot dancing character base. There is a tag underneath this shoe here, which again you guys have seen before. These have no stuffing in them whatsoever. They're just laid out on the base, and they are, I believe, yeah, they're hot glued down. So that's that. He runs off the same type of adapter that the produced one does, which is a 9-volt. And the one thing I did for this, like I said, he was missing the finger. I casted a new finger. So the new finger is resin, and it's an identical copy. I used a produced hand to get a good mold, and then I made a resin cast, took it out. I drilled a hole inside the original hand and drilled a hole inside the new finger, and took a metal shaft, a small little metal shaft like metal dowel pin, put crazy glue on each end with some baking soda, shoved it on each side so that it would adhere really nicely and not be able to break off in that same spot like it did last time. And then where there was any edges that were kind of iffy, I used hot glue and kind of smoothed it out just with my finger. It didn't have to be perfect because it gets hidden by the tray. So I'll go ahead and take the tray off. Give me 2 seconds and I'll show you the new finger that I made. Okay, so this finger, the pointer finger right here, is the one that was missing. As you can see, it's very strong. This isn't going anywhere. I drilled about maybe 3/4 of an inch into the finger and about almost a full inch into the hand. Since it's resin, it's very strong. It's fragile, but it is a strong material. But when you drill into it, it's soft enough to where it kind of just goes in so gently. You don't even have to put any pressure on the drill bit. It's very nice. And drilled right about to here. There's a full metal dowel pin just about the exact same length as the hole on either side. Glued, put it in, and I painted it. It does need to be touched up a little bit more, but I mean, on off camera you can tell a little bit of a difference. On camera you can't. I feathered the paint in over to here and on each fingertip. This one was previously broken before I owned it and glued back on, so when and if this one ever falls off again, I will do the same thing. So yeah, considering he didn't have a finger before, now he does, which I'm super happy with, because it did bother me that, if it was the back finger over here, it wouldn't be as big of a deal because you can't see it. But this one, even with the tray in the hand, you see it. So I wanted to get that fixed up. So give me 2 seconds. I'll pull his hood off and I'll show you what he looks like. Or actually, I'm going to show you the back of him first. I'll turn him around, open up the Velcro in the back so I can show you what the inside of the mechanism looks like for the collapsing and all that. And then I will pull back the hood if possible and show you guys how his head is built, because it's very different and unlike anything else. We thought that the produced Hunchback looked totally different and was like anything else, unlike anything else. This is even crazier. Okay, guys, so here it is, the Velcro undone. So there's a giant metal armature up here, which is covered by this foam. You can see the metal, and they use some pretty decent sized screws to hold it in place. This is how the arms are held up as well. All the metal right here is for the arms. There's two speaker boxes. One that has a speaker in it. I can't remember which one does. This one has the speaker in it, and this is the speaker box, that's actually occupied by a speaker. And then this one is just here for decoration to make it the same size and height as this side is. And then this whole thing right here is all resin, this plate on top that's screwed. And then actually, I don't even have to take the head off. If you look, you'll see that up top there's one of the head hinges, the neck hinges for the mounting mechanism. And then there's also one down below. That's because this head is two pieces. Up there is the head, and then down here is the neck portion that actually connects the tilting mechanism. So the neck tilting mechanism is a totally separate piece from the head, and you have to connect them both. Then right here, this jack, the head won't work unless this is plugged in. And I'm trying to see if I can get a good angle. You really can't see it, but pretty much the back of the head itself is just hollow behind it, and you just see the LEDs. So I'm not even going to take the head off because you can kind of get a good idea there. I do have a couple pictures that I could post on the community page, or the community side of the page, so you can see how it's designed when I was actually restoring it. I gave it a new belt, reconnected the wires, new gear for the neck tilting, and put a new gear in, all new gears in the neck mech, like I had said. The neck tilting mechanism is actually glued together with that pink stuff. And here you go. You can see the locking levers are right here. So they're on the back instead of the side, like I had mentioned. I was able to pry the mechanism out without breaking anything. I was very careful with it, and I was able to get it out nice. And I restored that perfectly. It came out great. I couldn't be happier with it. And then the board, I also was able to restore. I know I said earlier I was going to open it up in the video. I will take a picture and post on the community page and show you how that works, just because I'm a little limited on time right now. So give me a couple seconds. I'll get him all back together, turned around, and then we'll do the demo. One quick thing I should also mention before I put this tray back on. This is just a regular, tray that's been out for years. It's a little bit cheaper than the Edwardian Butler tray. It's a little bit of a cheaper plastic, but it is a produced tray. This handle right here is a little bit broken. I don't think that this was always broken. I think that the owner that just recently had it is the one who broke it, but that's no big deal. This is just a produced piece, and I actually have one of these spare, so I could actually just slap that back on. It's not a big deal. The only thing that's, I guess, unique to this, besides the proto label, is this right here. This piece is kind of just making it so it doesn't slide all over the place on the hand, because this hand is a lot smaller in diameter than, a Graves hand or an Edwardian Butler hand, so on and so forth. You get the idea. And it's glued on with that pink stuff that they always use for whatever reason. You can't even buy this stuff anymore. I was sent the link and, told what the product is. You just can't get it anymore, unfortunately. Because if you could, I would get it, because this stuff bonds so well to the resin, it doesn't come off. But unfortunately, you can't get it anymore. And then it slides on just like any other, Butler tray. So I'll go ahead and put this back on.
If you see any of the treats start to move, just bash them with a hammer. That usually works. What's the matter? You don't want a treat? Oh, the master won't like that at all. Take a treat. I hope you get a charge out of it. Oh, these tasty morsels are fresh from the lab. Delicious. Don't worry. I made sure the treats no longer scream when you bite into them. If you see any of the treats start to move, just bash them with a hammer. That usually works. What's the matter? You don't want a treat? Oh, the master won't like that at all. Take a treat. I hope you get a charge out of it. Oh, these tasty morsels are fresh from the lab. Delicious.
Okay, guys, so that was his demo. I do have the neck tilting a little bit slower than what it's supposed to be, but I honestly just prefer the slower movement, so I could go back in and change that at any time, but that's the movement, that's the speed of the movements that I liked, so I just left them there. Yeah, so that's the prototype Hunchback. Like I said, I know you guys have seen this 100 times between my video now, Peter's video, Don's video, Johnny's video, and even, the old stock video that was sent out that everybody saw back in the day. But I just figured that I would make a video since I had my own little story about it. And for those of you guys that don't know, this was intended to be released in 2009. It was released as a totally different figure. It was not collapsible, as everyone knows. It was pole based. It was on Spirit Halloween's website, various other websites. I think Buy Costumes had it. It sold for $149.99, and it didn't sell all that well. And for years, no one had them. No one had a produced Hunchback. And then they just kind of started popping up, and they don't pop up too frequently, but when they do sell for a pretty penny. I've seen them sell for the upwards of $500. I'm fortunate to say I have three. I have the prototype. I have the sample that was used at expos. Maybe it was the one that Buy Costumes had, or maybe even J. Marcus or whoever. Most likely J. Marcus, because my sample came from Pennsylvania. Excuse me. And then I have the produced one. So I've got all three variations. And the coolest part, besides it being collapsible and the fact it's all resin, the eyes, how in the prototyping stage they actually made the eyes worse than the produced stage, which is very opposite. Typically when you see the prototypes, you're like, oh wow, they should have did it like that. In this case, it's reversed. They gave it real typical Gemmy style eyes on the produced one, whereas opposed to the prototype, they're sculpted into the head, and they just have two LEDs in them, kind of like how we saw the modern Pennywise, pretty much the exact same way. And it just doesn't look right. The only thing that's nice about them being sculpted into the head like this, they don't crack. So the produced ones have issues with the eyes cracking, just like a stress crack, and they all do it. I've never seen a Hunchback that doesn't have a crack in the eye. Both of mine do. They're in two different spots, and sometimes it's both eyes that are cracked, sometimes it's just the one. So it being sculpted in fixes that issue, but it makes it look less realistic. And the other thing about him too is his base is a Cauldron Witch base, same style as the 5-foot dancing characters, but it has the cutout for the Cauldron Misting adapter, and this one has volume control, whereas the produced ones don't. So I'll save all the comparison parts for when I do the comparison video between the three. I think that'll be an interesting video that you guys will all enjoy. Peter and I are going to be doing that one together, so give me a couple weeks on that video and that will be out. So yeah, I hope you guys like this. Like I said, I know you've seen it a bunch of times. It's nothing new, but it's something I just wanted to share, and I wanted to share my story with the repairs between the new belts, gears, board work, and various other components that were put in. I just wanted to share my whole experience, and making the finger was pretty cool. I do have a whole nother thing that's a big surprise to you guys, that I'll be unveiling pretty soon, like very soon. It's already done. It's a done project. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you all enjoyed, and let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'll see you all later.